the amount of money that Starbucks probably spent on sending these executives in from all over the country, including the president of North America. They brought in Howard Schultz, infamously ran for president for 5 minutes, or was going to run for president. And, he gave this weird kind of offensive speech invoking the Holocaust and how prisoners in concentration camps had to share their blankets in the context of like why you shouldn't vote yes on a union. It was bizarre and pretty offensive. But what I think is kind of telling about this is, for the amount of money that they have spent over the last several months to bust your union, they probably could have saved themselves money by just recognizing a union
and negotiating a fair contract.
Negotiating a fair contract, maybe increasing pay a little bit. Because I was in the drive-thru when I was in Buffalo. You guys are pumping out God knows how many drinks, and the drive-thru line was massive in Buffalo, and it's Starbucks has huge demand. Can you kind of talk about all these corporations? They spending so much money on union busting when in reality, if they just negotiate a fair contract, if they just recognize a union, their productivity and profit would probably stay about the same.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think companies, the only thing they love more than profit is, they know that, like, if unions have a resurgence, and we believe, like, maybe this is the start of something, a larger movement for, working class people in the service industry to unionize. They know that they don't want any power in the working class. Like, unions are one of the few tools that we have as, like, workers to actually have our voices heard, have democracy in the workplace, and really have, like, some kind of countervailing force to, the power of the corporate elites and the billionaires. So, maybe they'll lose short-term profits by trying to bust unions, but I think the principle of not having workers empowered is even more important, that long-term goal for them. But I agree, they would definitely save money if they had just recognized the union. And especially for a progressive company that is supposed to care about something more than just profits, this, just shows it's all a sham and just PR.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that. I think the profit is obviously their driving goal behind everything that they do. But in a case like this, what's even scarier than having to spend a lot of money is the prospect that the workers are actually going to have a way to fight back and a way to assert themselves. And that is something that they'll throw away their whole fortune if they have to stop it. But they, like we've been saying, if we organize right, and if we all really understand that we're all in the same class and we're in it together, they can't stop it anyways.
Right.
And to that point of what you were saying about the bizarre Holocaust speech that Howard Schultz gave, in the same vein as that, there was a video I watched from More Perfect Union this morning about, a whistleblower in Arizona who talked about, she was a manager and had to attend this meeting where they were telling them that, the union is like the Catholic Church, and they make you, they put a union representative between you and the company the same way that the church puts a priest between you and God. And it's so bizarre because it just shows they're like totally
fanatical devotion to busting unions. Yeah.
Well, and corporate they view themselves as God, and it really shows the kind of like pompous attitude that they have. This infantilizing way that they treat workers, and they'll look you in the eyes and lie to your face and think that you're not going to know the difference. But people do. And that's why we won this fight today, because people are smarter than that. And they know when, you can't piss in my face and tell me it's raining, I guess.
Right. And I also want to touch on something you said, because, there's a lot of companies, including Starbucks, that have this image, and they spend a lot of money to put out this image that they're progressive, like Starbucks on social issues, Black Lives Matter, other things. By appearances have been progressive. But if you look underneath the hood economically, they are the same corporate scumbags, in my view, as the rest of them. So I think this goes to show you that it's the same thing during the George Floyd protests. You had like Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, BLM in their window as they're, charging higher interest rates and mortgage rates to Black people. So I think this kind of shows you that don't just buy into PR that a lot of these companies put out there. Amazon spends God knows how much with these rainbows and sunshine commercials.
Having Terry Crews do like a TikTok video to say how basically you don't need a union at Amazon.
Right. Like economically, they could, maybe they do charity work and they're good on some social stuff, but economically, these companies care about profit, profit, and profit. In the case of Amazon, it doesn't matter if you get injured, if you get hurt, if you if you get sick with COVID. And in the case of Starbucks, they could call you a partner, but obviously, if you had a wonderful direct relationship in the first place, you wouldn't have had to do this union campaign.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I guess one thing that I found out today, right before we had the vote count, was Starbucks released a Justice Cup. Basically, I don't know, celebrating their commitment to social justice, which was hilarious. I haven't seen the cup, but Jazz was telling me about it before the meeting. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. They're so, not even self-righteous, but they're so engrossed in their own PR that they can't even, I guess I think that was part of the reason that they failed here, was they bought their own messaging so much that they thought just flying Howard Schultz out here, having us meet the highest level executives would make us believe in the company. When ultimately, none of that was why we were organizing. It wasn't because we didn't understand what the messages of the company were. We understand it better than they did because we want to actually enact those values. I mean, one of their core values that they claim to have is challenging the status quo. But, the second we actually do that, try to organize against their wishes, they come down so hard on us. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The company, you're right, it does put a lot of time and energy and money into trying to paint this progressive image, and it just totally falls flat on its face. In a lot of ways, I mean, it's just clearly just marketing, because my own experience as a queer person working at Starbucks, I've had managers that misgender me 4, 5, 6 times a day, and then literally in the same breath, hand me a pronoun pin, a they them pronoun pin, because I asked for one because I was tired of getting misgendered. They hand me the pin and go, "Here you go, bro." I'm like, "Oh, that's great, fantastic." So to me, it's just okay, you can put rainbows and hand out pins and all you want, but if you're not even training your managers to understand how to just respect people in the workplace, and just a base level knowledge of the different identities of the people that you have working for you, it means nothing to me. I mean, so yeah, it's like you said, it's all marketing. It's just money at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people obviously take the time, celebrate. It's not like Starbucks is going to come to the table and negotiate a contract willingly and, very generously. The next steps are negotiating the first contract, the union and Starbucks, that might be as difficult as actually winning the union.
No, this is our big battle. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing winning this today, but our biggest battle that we're going to face is having them come to the table and actually negotiate in good faith, a fair contract. And, I think I've mentioned this before, that we need the whole country, the whole labor movement, the progressive movements to stand behind us in this, because, we're negotiating on behalf of partners across the country at Starbucks and service industry workers, and showing what's possible with the union. What are how far can we actually make these jobs livable and provide a living wage for people? So
the last thing I'll say is I think workers and the progressive movement should take a cue from you guys, because honestly, at the end of the day, we could all march till we're blue in the face on climate, on race, on healthcare, and you could keep marching and you could keep marching. But until we start taking some economic actions, which a union drive is, and I'm talking, I don't want to, we're not going to just have a general strike tomorrow. That might not be, but until people start protesting with their wallets and start banding together and organizing to hit people where it hurts, their wallets, you're going to continue to have what you have, which is basically a corporate coup d'etat of the country. So I thank you guys for fighting.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you.
Like you guys said, it's not over, so I'll continue covering negotiations for a contract, and enjoy the night.